Hey up everybody and welcome back. Ooh, pardon me, a little itch in my eye. Well, I successfully survived another one of Linda's little camping trips. Weather was beautiful. Even with my bad leg, we did a lot of walking. Linda was sort of musing on the beauty of this glen, and I was thinking, wow, nice sections here. But anyway, let's say we had a good time. It was a nice little break. Okay, so we can press on here. Our kickstart came, actually it came just before we were leaving, and the gear change lever came, so I just popped them on. Of course, kickstart lever, I had to spend a few minutes working on it to get it on the shaft, and the same with the cotter pin. Basically what it was rough edges to the holes. So anyway, they're both on. So I found somewhere that had the footrests with the square holes in, but they're using an alternative part number and they're talking about them being for an A65. They look to be right and they come up when I put in the B50 parts book part number, but I was just a little bit leery. I haven't ordered them yet. I did find the BA Allen bolts, although they didn't show up on the website for British Tools and Fasteners. When I phoned them, they had them, so they are actually ordered and on their way. So that means I'll be able to change those two and the three little ones at the front of this case. Now I've got the kickstart. We can put oil in it and I can kick it over until I've circulated oil right through the bike. So today, or this week, I'm not going to put the tank and that on yet. What I am going to do is make the chain guard and the bash plate, the skid plate for under here. We're just going to make this out of 8th alloy because we've got the frame tubes that stick down and all the rest of it. I think I'll be fine. Maybe put a piece of rubber in there, the way the modern trials bikes do, just so that any bumps against the plate aren't sort of transmitted straight in. There's a little cushion there, but that doesn't need to be anything very big for this one. And I'll show you, I think I've got the Victor Special bash plate. The frame is slightly different, but because of the way the sump sticks down, the design is the same. I'll show you the way they get around that, and then I'll show you obviously what we're going to do to solve that problem of the sump sticking a little bit lower than the frame tubes. Made up a new bolt for here, so that's now, instead of the original bolt, it's got a nice strong alloy steel one. And can't think of anything else. Oh, my new trials bike arrived. I'll show you that before we're finished. So I've got that there. Been riding the Enfield again, and I've got a bloody puncture in the back tyre. I think also I've got to look at the front forks. I was looking at the KT250 ones that I put on the Otter, and of course the new ones on my bike, and they're a lot smoother. They are. I don't think the springs are as strong, because you know the XS650 was what? It was like about a 400-pound bike, and they were designed for grip big disc brakes and what have you, so a lot of effort is being put into those forks as they're being worked. So I'm thinking about, I might play around a little bit with the valving, or at least with the holes for the damping part, because I don't think they have any very complicated valving in there, and maybe put some lighter springs in. You know, they work, but there's more effort to push them down and they don't come up quite as quickly as I might. For a road bike they're fine, but I think we need to do something with that. But anyway, that is totally irrelevant to this current project, so let's get some cardboard out and start looking at this chain guard. Right, well, so let's have a look at this. Oh, the prop stand spring came as well, and it was another case of me being shouting before I was bit, as they say, because You can't really see the spring, but hang on a second. See, like this one, when I offered it up, it was, see that one goes up there, and this is where the thing is, it was much too short. And I sort of, you know, cursed and said, here we go again, you know, I ordered by the part number, and these aftermarket parts aren't right. But I was just offering it up while it was still in the bag. And when I took it out of the bag, this piece here, actually, I suppose for packaging, it was a long piece. When I pulled this came out to about here. So it went on quite easily. In fact, I was able to use, as people keep mentioning, the puller I had, because it wasn't that long. That's much shorter than I wanted. All right, so chain guard. We're going to go from that mounting point to this mounting point. Now, first thing about this is the other ones you've seen me make, we've always sort of been a bit short of space behind that. But that's because for the trials bikes, I shorten the swinging arm. So as you can see here, instead of the tyre being right up here, because we take 2 inches out, I've got lots of space to either put a nut on the back, or what we'll do is, as normal, we'll weld a boss onto the back of it. So it's going to mount there. This mount here, which is going to be behind there, I think, because there's plenty of room, is oh yeah, we're well clear. We'll be well clear of the chair. I'm going to make that slotted mount, so we don't have to be taking this nut off and fiddling around to put it in behind there. We can just slacken this off, take that front bolt out, and that'll come off and out of the way. So that's going to be the design. It's just going to be about year long. We're not going to make it go right round the sprocket. It's going to be about year long, down here, down there. So that part will be at the back of the chain to bolt on there, and here it will be at the front of the chain. So that should make it nice, and you know, we won't be over like that with nothing supporting this front edge. It should be pretty rigid. I was just going to say something else then. Oh yes, so to make this a little easier to make, we're going to make the cardboard template in 2 pieces. Trying to work it so that it's bent over and everything fits. We'll make the back piece, and we'll make the equivalent of the front piece, so that they both go on, and then we'll just, you know, put some tape on in the middle to get our final template to mark out on a piece of alloy. We'll make it out 1/16 as usual, because that'll be amply strong enough, particularly with the folds in it that strengthen it up. So let's go and get a cereal box and see about cutting some card. Okay, here's our rough piece for the back. Now, this is a 3/8 hole. I'm not going to put a 3/8 bolt in, so what I always do is make a little sleeve to go in there to take it down to 1/4 inch. And then on the back of this, we'll weld a boss, about, I don't know, just over 1/4 inch long, which will be drilled and tapped. And then that way we don't have to worry about putting a nut on the back. When we put this in, we just put a bolt in and it'll screw straight in. So that's going to go on there like that. Now the thing to notice here is the distance from the chain to the top, there and there. Here, don't forget this is going to be fixed, this is going to move with the swinging arm. That chain is not going to move much relative to that top edge. But here, because of where we are, the chain is going to move up more than the swinging arm is. Are you with me? That, relative to this place, that is going to move more. So we've got to give more space. This chain's going to come up into there because it's fixed at that end, quite a long way away from where it's fixed. From where the chain guard's fixed here, we have the pivot point of the chain right back there. But here, where this is fixed, the pivot point of the chain is pretty close, so they're not going to move relative to each other. So in other words, don't make it like that. Because if you do, the chain's going to catch in the top of here. That's why this has got such a big cutout. Because that chain's going to move all the way up there, but the swinging arm's only going to move to about here. Right? So, as I say, there's our back piece, just shaped up a little bit. We'll probably shape it a little bit more. So now the front piece is going to come down inside there. So let me cut a piece of cardboard for that. Right, it's actually going to be a 3-piece cardboard template, because I just realised that the mount here is narrower than there. So if we wanted to come from up here, it would have to bend. So it's going to have to come round here so that we can get a straight shot at it. So basically, it's going to look like that. See, and that will go in there, like so. So then this piece is going to go up and over there. Because don't forget, that'll all move with this. This isn't going to move up to where the springs are. It's going to be there all the time. So that's that. So now we need a piece to come up over here. Right, so I want to put the back piece on reasonably firm so that I can work out where this top bit's going to go. So I've made the sleeve to go in there. I always like to put a little bit of a collar on here so that when it goes in, it's got something to butt up against. There we go. Now then, so I've punched a hole in that. That's going to go on there. Then we're going to have that to go through there. Come on. There we go. I guess the end's a little rough. We'll run a 1/4 inch drill through that to ease that end out. Now this, you see, is why I like to have the boss, the threaded boss on the back of this. Excuse me, might get in the way a little bit. That's on, but to mess around putting a nut and bolt on the back. A nut and bolt, a washer and a nut, I should say. There's the washer on. I'm just putting the washer on to spread the load on the cardboard a little bit. Right, I'm going to get right in your way now because this is really fiddly to get a nut on there. Can't get in from top or bottom really. So as I say, that's why I like to have the boss on there, and then you don't have to do any of this. Okay, so now we know that's going to go like that. I need a tiny little bit taken out of that corner. That's good. Then that bit is going to go in there. Tighten that nut up to hold. Battery just went on me there just as I was tightening that up. So anyway, so now that's on there tight, that's where that's going to go, that's where it's going to go. So all we're going to do now is bridge this. So we'll make it a little curvy piece. Curvy piece will match all that up. So we're going to make this, I've walked away with a bloody 6-inch ruler. Hold on a second, I've got a 12-inch ruler right here. so we'll measure it at this end because the, you know, the cardboard flexes a bit. So we want it to be an inch. So let me make a long piece, inch bend, and a bit sticking down at the end here, and then we can mark that out. Right, well, so there's our piece that's going to go. It's going to be the top piece. So behind so we can see where we want to be. The front end needs cutting off a little bit, and that look is going to go like that, and that will make go like that. And then we're going to cut that bit at the end. So let me cut that. Okay, we'll try this and then we'll tape it together. So that goes to there. It's going to go to there like that. Alright, let me tape these three bits together and see if it works. Right, well, so there it is all taped together. If I can get this in without getting in front of you. So that, the idea is it's going to go in like that. Drop down there. Slide onto there. And then hopefully, yep, that bolt goes through there. God, I've got to do something with that. Now then, I think we've got plenty of space. I might make that slightly longer to lift that up. But that's how it's going to be. I think that looks fine. Actually, what I can do is, when I mark out, I can make the slot a little lower in that. Okay, all I've got to do now is flatten this out again and transfer it to the alloy. Right, so there's our piece of alloy cut from this. What I've got to do now is mark on the bend lines, and then, very importantly, mark them on so I bend it the right way. Okay, so we're going to mark on this line, and that needs to be bent that way. So actually, once I've marked each end, what I'm going to do is mark it on the back. So then I know I'm going to put it in and it'll bend up this way. And then that one, that top one, wants to bend the other way. So they've both actually got to be marked on this side. Right? If we mark them on this side and put the thing and bend them, it's going to be the wrong way. We want this to fold over this way, because that's got to be at the front, and that's the top, and then this is the back. And believe me, I don't know how many times I've marked these things out, bent them, and then looked at them and thought, you complete wally, you bent it on the wrong side. So let me mark it up and put the brake into the press. Right, so I've got it in there on the first mark. I don't think I'm going to be able to bend it all the way in this, because it's going to get in its own way, I think. But anyway, we'll see. So here we go. Still clear. Still clear. Right, so that's one side. Now then, I'm not sure. So with this big sticking up, it's going to catch. We can at least start it, and that'll help us when we put it down on the bench and the edge of the bench. I'm not straight there. The edge of that, that's only. And now this is up to there, so that's as much as I can do. Okay, so that's, at least we've bent it the right way. Look, that's going to go under there. This is going to go over the other way. So let's go and put this on the bench and get something fastened down so we can do our bend. Right, well, so I put this clamp down. Don't think I mentioned that I hadn't nailed this, so I've got to clamp down. It's going to bend up this way, hopefully. It's a bit awkward altogether, actually. All right. My God, that doesn't seem to want to bend at all. Come on, you're only 16. Oh. This normally bends a lot easier than this. And that's a dead blow hammer, so... This side's awkward because of this thing here sticking out. It's moving a little bit. That's the trouble with metal. On metal it tends to slide a little. With it being alloy, you see, I don't want to use a big steel hammer on it. finish this off just on an edge. It's coming along. It's just a bit awkward to see. I've got nothing to put it on. I'll put that in a vise so I can put that on there like that, and I'll finish it off. Right then, so here it is bent. It goes in like this. Over here. Goes over there. That goes in there. There we are. Not too bad at all. Right, now I've just got to weld that thing on the back of there and give it a bit polish up. Right, well, so I give it a bit of a polish, put the thing on the back. So now that goes in there like that. That goes down. Come on now. Come backwards. That goes down. Come back a bit more. What's the matter with you? Because whenever you want to get underneath the washer always decides to go to the wrong side of where you want it. If you wonder what the strange black things on my arms are, they're when I'm welding with a short sleeves. Vicky bought me them, and very damned useful they are too. Saves you getting... Come on. Saves you getting that horrible sunburn. Right, so see, that's why we don't put a nut, use a nut. That goes on there. Which needs pushing over a little. That is nicely on there. And I might joggle you here, hang on. That goes like that. I've put a slightly longer bolt in here. Still. Oh, I'm gonna have to take a fraction off that bolt so that it clears the sprocket. But there you go. Nice and solid. Clears the tyre, clears the chain. I wasn't sure, and I was just walking round, I wasn't sure whether to paint it white or not. And you know, I thought it would just look a little bit garish. Garish. That, like that. So that fits in nicely behind that. See, looks good. That's tucked in there. Everything looks very smart, I think. Hang on. Excuse my head again. Fingerprints on it. Give that a bit more polish up. Now that took me an awful lot longer than I thought it was going to. But done now. Okay, so next thing to do, and it's going to be tomorrow now, is skid plate. Pleased with that. Alright, see you in the morning. Good morning everybody. Right, well, fast plate, skid plate, whatever you want to call it. I mentioned the way these were sort of laid out. This is a somewhat mangled B44 one. Now there's the little piece I mentioned that they put on to lower it from the bottom of the frame to there. And as I mentioned also, these are slotted so you can just slacken this engine mounting bolt off, slide that on and put the two bolts in there. So Here actually is one that was on one of the bikes I got that somebody, I think somebody's made it. It's heavier, it's longer, it goes right back. Again, I'm pretty sure it's for a B44. But here you see they've just put a couple of blocks on. Now that's what we are going to do. Right, we're not going to make a strange little thing to go there. We'll put a couple of blocks on, and of course we're going to make it out of alloy. Now I'm also thinking I might make it a bit longer so that it'll go back and cover where the oil pipes are. Because these oil pipes are very low. They're strange way of putting it on, but anyway. So we've got to bend a piece. There's two bosses here in the frame, and they're tapped to quarter fine, I think it is. I'll check it out and we'll run a tap in to get any paint out. So it's got to come from there down here. We've got to get a bit lower. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little pad of rubber under here. So I might stick that on with a bit of double-sided sticky tape or something just to hold it in place. Then we'll run a straight edge across and see how far down we want to be here to clear that. Alright. Then when we know how far we'll make up a couple of blocks. We'll bend our plate. I think we'll take it back to here. I don't think it'll flap. And then we'll be all set. See that pipe with the clip and everything on it? It's one of those things where, yeah, I could put the clip round if I was putting the clip on before I put the engine in, but once the engine's in, I can't get at the clip, the screwy part of the clip. Well, I might be able to get at it like that. I'll have to have a look at that. Anyway, let me get the bits and pieces out and we'll start doing some measurements. And I don't think we need to make a cardboard template. All I'll do is measure how wide I want it, put a centre line down. So I'll measure how wide I want this to be. We'll put a centre line down it and then we can mark off to shape it so it's equal on both sides. And then when I've curved it, we can fasten a couple of little things on to approximate where the blocks are going to go. Actually, he maybe made this for a B50. Although the blocks aren't in the right place. Blocks are too far out. But as you can see, from that to that, those holes match. Do they? No, they don't. I'm just blathering again. Alright, let me get the bits ready. Right, well, next stage. I've got my piece of rubber cut. We'll just nicely protect the sump and the 4 bolts. Just, as I say, it's to just add a bit of cushion. So the plate will be up against that. So if something hits the plate, it's going to support the plate, but it is going to give a little bit. Alright, and that is going to be glued onto the plate. So I've cut a piece of plate, centre line, marked those holes. I've just checked them, they line up nicely. These are only pencil lines so you won't be able to see them, but I've got a couple of lines at an angle here. We'll shape that slightly. So the next thing we're going to do is put some lines across there and start to bend this. We're not going to try and get a curve, but we're going to bend it. It's going to come down, bend, bend. So we're going to put 2 bends in, maybe 3. Just below that we'll bend it in a little bit to come down here. So let me get a pen and we'll mark them. Okay, so if we're going to be coming, we're going to be bolted up tight to there. we'll put the first bend about maybe an inch below the bolt holes. So 1 inch below the bolt holes. So that'll take it in like that. And then we'll put another bend at 3 inches. So let's start with them because that'll get me under here and I'll be able to see what's like. So let me mark, this is a nice, this side's perfectly square. So I'll mark across 1 inch below there, then 3 inches below there, and then we'll put it in the break. Alright, so I've marked 2 lines on. We'll do them one at a time and then we'll mark the final one. So let's put this in here. Now you've got to make sure these are square. And I'm not telling you that because that's the way I was trained to do it and I'm an expert. I'm telling you that because I've made these plates when I haven't got it square. You get it all made, you put it on the bike, 2 bolts in the front. When you go at the back, one side's like this and one side's down there because you didn't do it square. So if I do give instruction, it's generally because I'm going to need the square to be sure. I've already screwed it up at some point in my life. Right, now I haven't started to bend this, I've just brought it down so that it is level. I've got too big a bloody square, would you believe it? Alright. Now you're thinking, Michael. Okay, that's fine. Now I could have measured the angle, I suppose, but we'll just do it by eye. So let's go and try that. Now I haven't made you run backwards and forwards with me. I've got the first bend alright. It took me a couple of attempts to get it right. So this is the second bend, but we'll take this over to the bike and show you it. And again with this you want to do it at small increments. You can always bend it a little bit more, but straightening it back out, they never like to straighten out completely straight, if you follow me. Right then, this looks pretty good. So we're going to put a couple of bolts in. We'll really find out if I did run a tap through these, find out if I actually did drill these in the right place. If I get them to go in. I noticed when I was looking to check on the thread that these are actually studs on the original bike. Wow, look at that. Is it going in or is it another one that's a fraction out? Ah, come on, Michael. Oh, that looks good. There we go. I think actually we put the third one, we want the third one right down here. That's, hang on, let me tighten it up. Right, I brought you a little bit round to see it so you can see the, now there is the sump. Right, so as you can see, we need, actually, I maybe have gone a little bit far. We need that bending about there to get our little piece of rubber in. So that wants to bend there, and then I'll go straight back. So we only need one more bend. I might take a little bit out of that actually. Or a little bit out of that. But anyway, let me finagle, and then we'll put that other bend in and bring you back. Alright, the BSA engineers have caught me out once again. These bottom frame rails are not centered. The one on the other side runs straight from there to here. The one on this side has a kink in it. So although from the mounting to the edge is 1.5 inches on both sides, I've got, I don't know, about 1 inch here. But the other side, I'm right over against this. So really, that needs to go over there, about 1/2 inch. That is so bloody annoying. Should have made a cardboard template, shouldn't I? Then I would have seen that. So what I'm going to have to do is weld those holes up, move them over. I think it's 3/8 of an inch. And then this edge will come up here, and it will on the other side as well, because I measured that. It's 8 inches. This is 8 inches wide, so you can see where we are ruler. There we are. Small increments. We're 3/4 of an inch from there. And we're not touching. When I do that on the other side, I'm right up against this. So if I move the holes over 3/8 of an inch, I don't suppose it'll look odd because it'll follow the frame. God, that's really annoyed me. Alright, let me do that. Right, I decided I wanted to see if I could get these curves right first. So I'll put the other bend in. I've got my piece of rubber in, and we're just nice. Okay? But you see, I can put my finger there. Look. Let me take you around the other side. Right, here, that's exactly the same as on that side. But here, look, that tube is actually further out than this. Everything's dead straight, but I say this tube goes straight to the back. The other tube kinks out. So bloody annoying. Hold on a second. I just wanted to measure from the centre of the frame out here, but yeah, that's all centered. It's just the way the frame kinks. Okay, let me weld up those holes, re-drill them. You watch. What do you want to bet they don't come out perfectly matched like they did this time? So there it is on. It's within about maybe 1/16 of an inch to being exactly level both sides. So when I put the little pieces on to go onto those bolts, they'll be fine. I've shaped it up now because the shape at this side is slightly different, but you can't see it, and it follows the frame tube, so everything looks good. You know, I should have learnt by now that when things go along as if I know what I'm doing, you know, like getting those 2 bolt holes spot on, then something is waiting to bite me. There you go. So of course that's added loads of time. Time to go and have some scran. I expected to have this completely done. So anyway, now all we've got to do is make up a couple of blocks to go in there and a couple of pieces to come up, and we're done. I don't know whether to make them slotted the way they do or whether to put them a bit bigger and have to take this bolt out. You know, the engine's bolted all over the place. It's not a big problem to take that out, and I don't think that spacer would fall out. because that's in quite tightly. Just pull that bolt out, pop the plate up, stick the bolt back in. We'll see. I'll think about it while I'm eating. So, cheese and Branston pickle sandwich later. I didn't have any solid, so what I've done is I welded together three pieces of 1/4 inch. Just welded the ends up. I've just squared them up in the mill. Now this goes at a little bit of an angle. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them in just there. So at this end, they ought to be 5/8, and at this end they want to be 9/16. So 5/8 at one end, 9/16 at the other end. So I'm going to mark them, put them in the mill, bonk the angle on it. So that's in there. Next thing to do is to make our pieces to go here. I might have to make another bolt for this because there's not a lot of extra, and I don't want to make this too spindly. If I want to make this out of 1/8, that's another 1/4 inch on the... I don't know if I get that. Anyway, let's make our first one. So it's a piece to come up here like that with a slot in it, slot pointing backwards, so we can slide that on and then bolt the front up. Alright, so there's our little doodad. Okay, just checked it on the other side. It works perfectly for the other side as well, which is good because it means that this is the same height or the same distance from there, both sides. Now the only thing that's mildly annoying is I was rather hoping that I could weld this to that, but to get that nice and firmly supporting that, hang on, that's a 1/4 inch in from the edge of here. As you can see, that's just on there. So I might have to put a little bit of something behind it. See, if I could weld it on that, I could just pop it in there, mark it, and then when I take it off, it's really easy to weld up. So they needed to be wider. I thought, actually, I made them as wide as the tube because I thought that would have been fine. And there isn't enough space to put a kink in this. Have this come down, go in and go down. Never get it to do that. How far in from? That's an inch in from an inch. That's only about 1/8, so I might just be able to slip another, where's it gone? Slip a little square of 1/8 in there, and that'll bulk it out to match up with that, and that'll weld nicely there. See, I can mark that easily. See, if that's nice and flush, then like those two marks there, I can tack that and that'll be fine. Dry it on, and then when I take it off I can weld all the way around. Okay, let me go and cut a piece of 1/8 anyway, and let's see what that looks like. Right, there's our piece. Where's this little thing? Yeah, it does. It just touches the edge there. So we'll go and chamfer that, and we'll weld this one on. And then we'll see about the little block on the inside. All right. Right, so I've got that tacked on there. So let's see if this first one works. So the idea is that slides on, then we can put that bolt in. Hang on, excuse my head. That bolt in, and I'll go around the other side to tighten these. Everything is conspiring to get in the way now. The tie downs are being awkward. Okay, that's in. That's in. And that is nicely in there. And then, is that the one? That one goes in there. Yeah, I can't, if I put it, yeah, I think if I put a piece of, just a piece of 1/8 in behind there, that will be fine. And that, yeah, that's going to be squished up. It just won't quite push in. All right, took a bit of doing, but that seems to be it. Let me weld this up. I've got the template, I'll cut another one and see about putting it on the other side. All right, welded the one on the other side, so we've got them on both sides now. All we've got to do is put it on there. Make sure I got it on the other side. This I have. One. There's t'other end. And I just want to see, might just get a washer on, I don't know. Let's have a look at this side. Oh. I don't know if I can quite get a washer on both sides. That's annoying. This bolt might be a fraction short. See, I always like to, you know, the bolt should come to the end of the nut. Yeah, you know what, I'm sort of a washer short in length. It's because I've used 1/8 instead of about 16. But there's that, so now I've just got to put these in there, glue me bit of rubber in, and that's that done. But it's 5 o'clock and I promised myself today, since it was a little cooler, that I would take the new trials bike out. So that's what I'm going to do. Finish this off in the morning and get that done. That'll probably be it. So anyway, see you tomorrow. Right, well, so I finished off the sump guard, bash plate, skid plate, whatever you want to call it. But I've made a change to it because I didn't like where I was planning to put these. Because it suddenly struck me they were, you know, if something got bumped, they were a long way away from the sump. And when I looked at the original one, see how far away this is? It's more to protect it there. So what I've done is made these. And actually I slipped up slightly because I should really just welded these at the end. When I'd welded them all in, this had bent a little bit. So I've had to do some slightly remedial bending. I'll put my rubber plate on the bottom as well. Rubber plate, my patch of rubber, so that's glued on. Make sure it's on around the other side. Yes. No. Go. Oh, and the come on, I might still have to twiddle this a little bit. You don't seem to be going in straight. If it's not one thing, it's another. Oh, you may remember over the years, those of you who've watched me, that I sometimes mention I don't have the best of luck. Aye, why won't you go in there? I just had this on to make sure it was all right. Well, as I said yesterday, I was going to... Hey, that's loose. I was going to knock off and ride my new bike. Well, I got on it, set off. I'll have to run the tap in that again, that's weird. Anyway, I set off, I got about 50 feet and it stopped. Started it up, ran a few seconds, it stopped. Started it up, ran a little bit less and it stopped. And then after that it wouldn't run. No spark. So there you go, look. My 60-year-old Enfield I can ride about, but my brand spanking new Beta won't ride. Anyway, now look at that. That's how it goes. Those things are in there nicely, so they're not only underneath but around at the front as well. That'll give it a really good support if something hits it. Okay, so I think next week we'll get this finished. Did I just tell you the little Allen bolts came? 2 there, those 3 and the one up for the rocker box thing. Alright, as I say, next week we'll put oil in, we'll get the oil pumped round. Finish the brakes, bleed them and that. Put the petrol tank on, see if it'll start, give it a run. Alright, until then, stay safe and enjoy yourselves. I just remembered I said I'd show you the new bike, not that it deserves it. So here it is, it's 200. This just has that little bit more grunt than the 125 had, because although I sort of cover the levers with one finger. I still ride it like a vintage bike. I just can't get used to the clutch. Too old. What is it? Can't teach an old dog new tricks. The one thing I think I'm going to do is, you see this? Apparently the top riders use this as a guide to where they are when they're moving around on the bike. But it's a pain in the arse. And actually, like with the Scorpa, if I'm on a hillside, I could never get on that from the downside. As soon as I was a bit lower down this side, I couldn't get my leg over. But I noticed that the 4-stroke ones, it comes up and then it goes here. And they're only about $120 or something. And I think it fits straight on that. So I'll probably buy the 4-stroke mudguard to get it to go down. I mean, that's a pain. Alright, so there it is. Water cooling disc brakes. It's got a little switch here that gives you 2 different ignition mappings. It sort of has a little sunshiny thing and a little rain cloud. One's a little more abrupt than the other. But when I rode it on the test day, I really liked it. So check fuel flow, check the vent, all that sort of stuff. So tomorrow it'll go back to Mike's, and if need be, we'll get some warranty work. So alright, I'm really going now. Bye.